I've been here for 50 years, and I can't really find a day that I didn't enjoy my job.
Dave Harris has been working for the Iowa City Police Department since 1967. It's been a dream job for Dave, but he didn't always know that he wanted to be a cop.
One of the chiefs at that time who I was familiar with, John Rupert was his name, he asked me to come up and be a dispatcher. And he said, believe me, within a week or 10 days, you'll know if you want to be a cop.
And that was the case.
Immediately put my name in for an application to become a police officer.
Dave told me he had already held a few other jobs, but said they quickly became mundane. Working for the police department offered a solution to that problem.
And it was something different 24 hours a day. I mean, you never did the same thing over again. It was always different, and I kind of liked that idea.
Once he made officer, Dave landed a spot on the night shift.
Usually we'd come to work at 11 o'clock at night, and you wouldn't slow down till 7 o'clock the next morning.
He liked the fast pace of the work, as well as the camaraderie with his fellow officers.
All the people that worked that shift were just like a big family.
Dave was eventually promoted as a senior detective in the investigations unit, but after a few years applied to be put back on patrol.
It's really hard to walk away from that kind of a situation, and I really missed it, and so I went back.
It was in this position that he made the biggest impact on fellow officers.
He just brings the best out of people.
Matt Johnson first joined the department in 1977. At that time, Dave was still in the investigations department.
I was a bit in awe of him when I first met him as a detective sergeant, because I kind of thought that was pretty top shelf stuff.
Shortly after that, Dave moved back to the night watch. That's when Matt got to know firsthand what kind of a leader Dave really was.
Dave was the kind of sergeant that if he asked you to do something, it was nothing that he wouldn't do himself.
Matt says Dave's strong work ethic and encouragement helped shape those who worked underneath him.
And when you were sitting there, he'd come up and slap you on the back and say, hey, good work tonight, you know, keep it up.
Which is why so many people wanted to work with Dave.
So he had a group of officers that worked for him that wanted to work for him. It was a fairly hot commodity working on his watch.
After a long evening, it wasn't uncommon for the entire shift to go to the Harris house, where Dave's wife would have breakfast made for the whole bunch.
They sort of adopted the whole shift, and it just inspired great camaraderie. We were just a tight bunch.
Dave retired as a patrol officer in 1985 with the rank of sergeant. He went back to dispatch for several years before becoming a community service officer in 1991. The city of Iowa City recently honored Dave for his 50 years of service.
I was very surprised. It was overwhelming, it really was.
Where he received a standing ovation.
Everybody was standing up. I didn't know that until Matt Johnson, who was sitting at the table, he said, look. And I looked, and everybody was up, and it was very nice. I enjoyed that very much so.
As for Dave, he is still putting in 8 hours a day, working in the evidence department. For Matt, that's no surprise.
I think Dave would be very uncomfortable if he wasn't working. He's just got a real strong drive.
Dave says he is thankful for every day he goes to work.
It's always been an enjoyable job for me. I've never, ever regretted a minute of my employment with the city.
And he plans to keep working in law enforcement as long as he can.
If I didn't enjoy coming to work, believe me, I would retire. I would be out of there in a second. But I do enjoy it.